What if I told you every single hand that's dealt to me must be played? In today's episode, I have 100% Vpip and a long-awaited arrival to the Lodge stream. Welcome to the Lodge Mahal and welcome to today's episode. Our session is going to get things going off immediately. Although you won't see it in the graphics in front of you, we end up going crazy by 4-bet jamming queen deuce offsuit on the very first hand of the session. Yeah, things are going crazy. This next hand is the second hand of the session. In this following hand, the hijack raises to $14. The button raises 3-betting specifically to $40. Action gets to me in the small blind. I have to call here with king 10 offsuit. We got 100% Vpip to protect. The straddler calls as well, and then the action gets back to the hijack, who decides to 4-bet jam for $375. Obviously, this is always a good hand, and when the button 3-better calls as well, I'm left in a pretty precarious spot. We can easily fold here. To be quite fair, that is the only answer to the equation. I decide against it, sadly. I stick in the call here because if you can't beat one guy, maybe you can beat two. We're going 3 ways to a run out versus aces and ace 10 of diamonds. Unfortunate here as we are absolutely in the thick of it. Flush draw for our opponent with ace 10 of diamonds. So pocket aces does have a sweat here, but luckily for him, the run out does not improve either one of us. He ends up scooping a massive $1,200 pot for himself. And just like that, we are stuck our very first buy-in.
Takes away some outs for AK. The case ace and no diamond is going to give Bobby Filet the check mark.
The one thing that differentiates poker with going to target is that there is no 60-day return policy. That punt that I just mailed off into this guy's wallet, unfortunately, I can't ask for it back unless I'm some people in the poker world. But this following hand, we have decided to upgrade. When the under the gun player raises to $15, there are a few calls and the action's on me. And this time we got the suited variety of king 10. I decided 3-bet it to $100. I think by this point, my opponents have realized that I'm absolutely a goofball and I'm going crazy this session. I'm going to be a maniac as much as I can be. Under the gun calls, the hijack, and the cutoff call as well. We're going far too many ways to a flop, which we end up with some pretty good equity. We flop top pair on a monotone board, and when the action checks to me with, somewhere around $300-ish in the pot, and sitting with somewhere around $300 in my stack, it feels like there's only one option to go with here. The graphics were slightly wrong. Let me just say that. The pot is exactly 333 or something like that, and my stack is 398. The problem with betting small here is that I allow my opponents with flush draws to just kind of put it in for a cheap price. I'd rather just charge them the max, run it one time, and feel the max pain. I leave the decision making to my opponents, and I just go all in. I make it as easy as possible for myself. We can still get called by worse hands, and that's all that really matters to me. Looks like Under the Gun is coming along as well. We're going to another run out. And once again, as every single hand will be this night, maximum blood, baby. $1,200 pot one time versus Queen Jack. Kind of a loose call here, but when he's against a loose player, Queen High might be good sometimes. Unfortunately for him, he runs into the top pair variety of my craziness. And we're going at one time here. The turn card is a red card, but it is a diamond. The river card, once again, no red card dealer. It is a red card, but it's a 3 diamonds. We hold and scoop a massive $1,200 pot for this game. That's good news because we're no longer stuck. If you guys are liking this kind of action and expect to play with more players like myself, you can find us on the Splash Quads. I play there like every single day, and there's people that are as action as me, believe it or not. In this following hand, Under the Gun blind raises to $15. I'm in the cutoff, and I decide to 3-bet to $55 with 9-6 offsuit. The opponent decides to make the call. We're going to a flop where luckily we do have position. That comes bearing us no gifts. Shout out to Santa Claus. I guess I've been a bad person this year. And when my opponent decides to check it over to me, we have a pretty easy spot to continue betting. Yeah, I make a small continuation bet, and my opponent calls. The turn card is a good one. It gives me some form of equity. Any 4 now gives me a straight, and that is enough of a green light for me to keep blasting. I make it 150 to go, and once again, my opponent check calls. The river card comes bearing no gifts. It's the Jack of Hearts. I guess, in fact, I have been a bad boy this year. The opponent checks it over to me. Let me give you guys one little bit of advice that I promise you will go a really long way in poker. If your goal is to get people to fold top pair. In poker, your goals are wrong. You are going to go broke so fast. It's a lot to grasp, especially for me. What they didn't tell you was if you bet big enough, you could maybe possibly screw them over, right? So all in. That's just all I have to say about the situation. I'm going all in for $600. A massive overbet. My goal is to get my opponent to feel as uncomfortable as possible. If my opponent does in fact have a hand like queen 10 or queen 7, these random holdings, I think once in a while he'll decide to fold even with how crazy I'm playing. And if better yet, my opponent somehow has a flush draw, he's just going to snap fold that as well if he breaks out. All that to be said, my opponent goes deep into the tank, and man, some time it goes by before eventually deciding to fold. We love to see it, but oh my goodness, my opponent barely had one pair. Oh my God, I cannot believe he tanked that long with like bottom pair. So shout out to my opponent, Mr. Elf. You nearly had me. Outside of the punt on the first hand, things have been going remarkably decent. We're bluffing when we need to, and we're holding when we need to. In this following hand, things might take a turn, right? Early position raises to 15. There's like 4 people that call, and the action's on me. I think there's 2 or 3 people left in the Nick game at this point, and even though I've played every single hand, and God knows I'm trying, I'm doing everything I can to win this very small bounty, I haven't won anything. So when the action's on me, and with almost $100 dead in the middle, and, you know, the balls to go for it, I just go all in. Why the hell not? I have ace-2's offsuit. It's not a good hand to play multi-way, but even if I get called by one guy, like, hey, we're going to have like 30% at least most of the time. So I just ship it in here. Hopefully we can get rid of our nit button, and early position ends up calling, which is unfortunate. And we're once again running the board out one time. He has pocket 8s this time around. And luckily for us, ace is in the window. You guys thought I was going to run out of the run good. Oh, no chance. The turn card is an 8 of... It's an 8 of what? An 8 of... Really? Are you an 8? We go from, you know, sucking out to getting re-sucked out, and now we're just drawing stone dead. River card is an inconsequential 5. Just like that, things have taken quite the turn. I realized we were behind to start the handoff, but still, kind of a sick turn card to really get us moving in the wrong direction. $1,000 lost. Babe.
What happened?
Guess what?
What?
Chicken butt. Can you believe they're still not signed up on Club GG?
What is happening?
Toast, how do you feel about that? Toast loves me, but he doesn't love that you're not on Club GG. So,
You can sign up by clicking the link on top of the description.
Toast, you're a wonderful bar patron. That's it for our family here, so enjoy the rest of the video. The very next hand comes around, and I still have this stupid nip button, and this time we're heads up for it. The cutoff makes it $10 to go, and I'm on the button with Queen 10 offsuit and an opportunity to finally get rid of this stupid nit button. I don't have that much money in front of me. I think we're like $500 or $600, but to be quite fair, I'm in complete degeneracy mode, and I just don't want to lose a nit game. It probably has never happened for someone to play every single hand and somehow lose a nit game. So I go all in. The small blind calls all in. Never great. Then the cutoff calls all in after giving a speech about he wants to gamble. We're running it one time once again. We're up against ace, king, and jack 8. And by, oh my God, I guess I have been good. 10-10 jack. We flop our opponents damn near dead. The turn card is a 9. A little bit of sweaty one now here. Until the river's a fucking 7. Holy, oh mother of God. Jeez Louise, that's a painful one. Nearly 90% favorite to win this pot. Or probably more than that when you account for all the dead cards that have been folded pre-flop that haven't been considered in the percentage. Holy crap! God damn it! Why? The worst hand found a way to lose. Are you surprised? In this following hand, there is a straddle on to $10 when early position raises to 2.1x. You'd think we're playing in a tournament here in the World Series of Poker, but no, in fact, this is a cash game. I am next to act, and I look down at pocket deuces. So I go ahead and make the call here, and that begins a ridiculous train of calls. When the action gets over to the straddler, there is like, $200 dead in the middle. He decides to 3-bet here to 500. A really great play for my opponent here, Mr. Elf. The action after a very long tank from the opponent with pocket 10s here that opened from 2.1x decides to fold his pocket 10s. Jesus, what game are we playing here? I have no idea. Action's now on me, and as you guys have known, we're going to take the gambling route here. I think my opponent's not always going to wake up with a pair, which is all it comes down to. And with all of these random people behind me left to act who are just flicking in calls, maybe they're sharing some cards. I don't know. This is how gamblers try to make sense of their gambling and their degeneracy. I decide to just flick it in. I go all in for $850. Everyone else decides to fold. And our opponent has king, queen, and shrug, has to call it off here. Great move from our opponent. Whether he wins his hand or not, I really like that massive isolation there with his hand. And look, he ended up getting all in against a hand that is pretty shit. All things considered, we are looking to hold for a massive 1.7k pot that would bring us to gosh dang near evenness. But it's king high, because of course it is. Nothing is going to pan out for us today, it seems. Unfortunate, pain, misery. All that to be said, and we lost the freaking knit game. How was that possible? Oh. I realize that it's easy to just complain about my bad luck here, but to be quite fair, it's almost deserved. We've been running pretty good as of late, and on top of that, it's probably bound to happen when you play every single freaking hand in the session. This next example of a hand is a fun one. When early position makes it $15 to go, the hijack, the button, I'm in the small blind. I decide to call with queen 5 of clubs. The big blind and the straddle will call as well. Once again, there's so many people in this pot. God knows this game is amazing. It's off the chain. The flop is literally too good. I almost feel guilty at this point because my hand is so good that everyone else should just run away. We flop a pair here as well as a flush draw. If you guys know me well enough, you guys will know that we call this the car keys because I'm going to go all in. I'm going to put everything I have. I'm going to put my clothing on the table, my underwear on the table, my wife on the table, even my car keys on the table. I'm betting everything. You can take the deed to my house. You literally cannot get me to fold. So much so that I do something that I literally advise against all the time in most cases, especially when you're 7 ways in a pot here. I donk lead out for $30. The big blind, the hijack, and then the button make the call. We're going off to a turn card. It's not a black card. It comes out the jack of clubs. Looks like Mr. American Express is going to have to hold off for another day, but that's not going to stop me. I'm going to keep betting at this point. Yeah, maybe I have a set, I have a 5. Why can't I have pocket 5s, right? I make it $150 to go. Luckily, we thin the field out, and only the button makes a call. Going off to river card that comes a miracle jack of clubs. Jeez, Louis, I almost feel guilty at this point, genuinely, because I finally made a hand. I don't even know what to do with myself. Yeah, I know what to do. It's very simple. All in dealer. Thank you very much. The dealer obliges and throws the all in tag my way. My opponent immediately smacks his lips and calls, nearly beats me into the pot. I get a little scared here. Things have honestly not been coming my way, but it looks like this is the exact opposite of that. A massive cooler, but man, oh man, that was much needed. A $2,000 pot coming my way, and we're still stuck like 2 or 3,000 in this game. Some more poker is set to be had when early position makes it $15 to go, and once again, there's too many people to even keep count of. We're going off to a flop here that comes giving us a gutter ball and a backdoor flush draw. The small blind decides to throw a little donk lead action, baby. We love it. He's learning from me, isn't he? Let's go to a freaking run out, baby. The turn card, yeah, that's more like it. The 8 of hearts giving us the miracle straight flush draw as well as the made straight, baby. Let's do it. Pretty easy spot for us to bet, I believe. We have one person to act behind us that might have a flush. The button folds, so he didn't have a flush. And then the small blind calls. We're going off to a river card that isn't my favorite one in the world. It's the 7 of spades. Pairing the board here, obviously our opponent could have let out the flop with some sort of flop set. That totally makes a lot of sense. But when he checks it over to me, although it's for a split second, I actually think about checking this back. But then there's like a little devil on my side that just taps my shoulder a couple times, says, hey, Nit, that's what you want to do? Just start checking back straights? Is that what we're coming to freaking Texas to do? Yeah, obviously I'm not in the business of being a nit and checking back. I think there's still a great opportunity for us to extract a little more value if our opponent has a hand like 10-9, which is definitely possible. Yeah, we can still get paid off here. And if he raises, we're probably never good, so we can just happily fold. I decided to bet out a pretty small wager of $250, not too big in relative size of the pots, as again, we're still trying to get called by non-flushes and non-boats. And our opponent thinks about it for some time before throwing the old tank raise to 600. I hate when people tank raise me. It is the most Euro thing in the world. It literally is what I have nightmares about at night, and it makes me not want to play poker anymore. Too bad that I'm so tilted and stuck so much money that I don't even think more than a second before I flick in the call. And obviously, you idiot, Kieran, you complain about the run bed. You complain about spots like this. And look, I get it. This guy had pocket eights, led the flop, hit the turn set, was drawing literally stone dead, hit a miracle card in the river. We can complain about all that stuff. I just wanted you to see that that was another spot that I was a huge favorite, and we lost. But you know what's not good is when you compound on those bad luck and the bad runouts with self-made errors. That's not good poker, buddy. Maybe you guys can take a little lesson out of that. But we lose another pot, and a big one at that. Things are coming to a close fairly quickly. We are into this game for $5,000 frickin' dollars. That has to be a record here at the Lodge, and we haven't folded a hand, which is also probably a record here at the Lodge. Under the gun makes it $25 to go. Another person calls, and the action's on me in the button with Queen 10 offsuit once again. I couldn't win with it earlier. Hopefully I can win with it this time around, but why not add $445 more, especially when our opponent wakes up with aces and calls. The runout does in fact give me some equity as we now improve to a gutter ball straight. The turn card doesn't help, and the river card doesn't either. Our Austin trip, which ended up being just for a few hours, ends up coming to a close, losing nearly $5,000. Obviously, not what we had intended, and yeah, not a whole lot much more to talk about right now. But I want to talk a little more in person after the fact, because I can wrap this all up significantly better than I have in the commentaries.
A little bit of good news, a little bit of bad news. Good news is we're no longer playing. The bad news is we lost pretty much every hand. Granted, we got it in behind a lot, as you guys saw. When we were ahead, we couldn't hold. When we were behind, we couldn't catch up. When we got there, we couldn't hold. So that's what's going to happen when you play every single hand. So that was actually a ton of fun. Shout out to everybody that we met today. Thank you again for the Lodge for having me. It was a wonderful time. Unfortunately, I have a family emergency to attend to. So, we were into the game for 5,000 and out for 0. Probably the biggest loss in this game, honestly, ever. But we'll take it. It was a lot of fun, honestly.
Okay, sorry about that. To be honest, I was kind of overwhelmed with the I was getting a little overwhelmed, not with the fact that I lost. I came in knowing that I was probably going to lose because I was going to play every hand. I just got some really bad news back home, just a little family emergency, nothing crazy, but obviously something serious enough for me to get back home. I was supposed to play in the stream tomorrow, and it breaks my heart that I can't, but duty calls, family first, you guys know how it is. The intention is still to play in the next week's streams. I'll be playing 2 bigger streams, significantly bigger, over at the Champions Club. Today was a wonderful time. I can't thank Skull Mike and Slick Rick enough for having me out there. The property is gorgeous, by the way. The stream room is impeccable, and the staff is just, the only word to describe is just professional and wonderful. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. We're into the game for 5,000 out for 0. Hope you guys have a lovely day. Stay happy, healthy, and more importantly, have a very happy holiday season.
I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. I can do this with my eyes closed.